They're breaking down my door right now, and I mean that in the literal sense. Not just the usual HOA knock with a clipboard, but 6 guys in tactical gear, barking orders like they're conducting a SWAT raid. Rachel, the queen bee of our HOA, stands outside barking orders to secure the property and remove the occupant. That'd be me. While I barricade myself inside my own cabin, my hands trembling not out of fear, but from the adrenaline, the rage, and that weird little sense of, is this really happening? You get when things go off the rails fast. This isn't normal HOA nonsense. This is a full-blown siege, and I know if my cousins don't get here soon, things are going to get ugly, because these boys aren't here to hand out pool violations. I called Jake and Tony, my cousins, my brothers in arms, the kind of guys who ride Harleys not because they're midlife crisis types, but because after 25 years in the Army Corps of Engineers, that's just the way you keep your soul from rusting. If you've ever been terrorized by an HOA, drop a comment, because trust me, I never thought I'd end up at war with mine, let alone with a battle plan that involves more tactical gear than a low-budget action flick. Thing is, it all started like any other Tuesday. Coffee on the deck, a hawk circling the valley, thinking maybe I'd go into town and pick up some screws for that gate the wind keeps threatening to rip off its hinges. Then Rachel appears. Blonde hair, clipboard, shoes so white they practically glow in the pine needle dirt, and she's hammering metal stakes into my yard like she's claiming the land for Spain. She doesn't even look up when I tell her, politely enough, that she's trespassing. The stakes ring out, echoing off the mountains, and I'm thinking, you picked the wrong engineer, lady. Rachel Collins. Yeah, that Rachel, head of the HOA Environmental Committee, but today she's got that glint in her eye, the one people get when they're high on the smell of their own authority. County environmental compliance extends to all properties in the water district. Mr. Wright, she snaps. I ask for county authorization. She just flashes the badge of the HOA and waves off my Army Corps experience like it's some backyard hobby. There's something else, though. She starts talking about underground springs, water rights, EPA regulations. This isn't your typical nosy neighbor act. She's got knowledge that suggests she's either studied up or she's working for someone. I start pulling up her stakes, one by one, while she fusses about official assessments. Then my shovel hits something hard. Metal, hollow, deliberate. Rachel goes dead pale. She asks, too calm, what the noise was, but her eyes are screaming panic. That's the moment I realize, this isn't about lawn care or runoff. She's looking for something. She peels off in her car, and I keep digging. I find a steel lockbox, military grade, engraved Water Distribution Survey, 1987, Colorado Water Rights Act. Now, I was just a kid in '87, but clearly, someone was already playing high-stakes Monopoly with water out here. The lockbox is heavy, sealed, and sitting right where you'd expect if someone wanted it found only by someone who knew what to look for. You ever have that moment where you realize you've stepped into something way bigger than you bargained for? That's me, knees in the dirt, holding a $10,000 secret. Naturally, I call Jake and Tony. Mountain Thunder Riders isn't just a motorcycle club. It's a brotherhood of combat engineers who swap stories about landmines over cold beers and can build a bridge out of scrap steel and sheer willpower. I barely finish telling Jake what's up before he says they'll be up the mountain in 40 minutes. Don't touch anything else. That's the code. You wait for backup. Meanwhile, I set up security cameras. Good thing, because at 2 a.m., the footage catches Rachel back on my property, not alone, but with 3 people in hazmat suits, thermal imagers, pro-grade sampling kits. Not HOA volunteers. They worked for almost an hour, focused on the spot where I found the box. When people in hazmat suits start poking around your property, sleep is off the menu. Next morning, my phone starts blowing up. Neighbors send me screenshots from the community board, photos of me, heavily edited, captions about erratic behavior and potentially dangerous veteran. It's psychological warfare, and whoever's running it is good. They're using my military background against me, painting me as unstable. If you've ever been on the wrong side of a smear campaign, you know the unique kind of anger and helplessness that comes with it. Then Betty Johnson shows up. Military widow, sharp as a tack, doesn't take crap from anyone. You seen what that Collins woman is posting about you, she says, phone in hand. Betty's seen this playbook before. She tells me the coordination, the timing, the quality of the images, it all smells like pro-level manipulation. Someone's paying for this. She's right. The campaign is everywhere, all at once, setting me up for whatever's coming next. And then my phone buzzes. Stop digging or your army buddies will be next. Attached is a photo of Jake's bike outside his house. Timestamp 20 minutes ago. That's not a threat you ignore. Rachel calls an emergency HOA meeting. 15 neighbors show up, primed by her PowerPoint of doctored photos and dire warnings. She accuses me of unauthorized excavations, contamination risks. She's even got stock images of disasters that look nothing like my place. I stand up to defend myself, lay out my credentials, but Rachel interrupts, casting doubt on my qualifications. Betty stands up then, her voice cutting through the noise. This man has forgotten more about water systems than any of us will ever know. Her support rattles Rachel, but the room is still tense. Rachel never produces county or EPA documents, just anonymous complaints. That's when I get it. This is about control, not compliance. And the kicker? As I leave, I hear Rachel on her phone. If he figures out what's in that lockbox, we're done. You'd better hope your federal contacts are as good as you claim. The next day, an EPA contractor shows up. Turns out to be Collins Environmental Services. The lead guy? Another Collins. Their paperwork looks official, but their equipment isn't for testing. It's for extracting water. Hidden pipes, fake contamination. These folks aren't testing anything. They're stealing water. I catch them pumping chemicals into the soil to discover contamination later. See, out here, water rights are everything, worth millions. My property sits on a valuable underground spring, and the Collins operation is about grabbing it. I find an underground pump system, professionally built, siphoning water out. When I confront them, I overhear Rachel talking to Tom Collins, her husband. The stakes? A $10 million resort contract. If they can't get me out, Tom threatens divorce, federal intervention, whatever it takes. This isn't just HOA drama. It's organized, it's criminal, and it's personal. Betty documents everything. She gets audio, video, photos, real evidence. The Collins plan? Manufacture contamination, recommend evacuation, take over the property during remediation. If I find the original water rights documents in the lockbox, the whole thing falls apart for them. Suddenly, 3 black SUVs with government plates show up. Not from any agency Betty recognizes. That's when Tom arrives, brings his own crew, flashes phony EPA credentials, and tries to force me out. His crew is nervous. They're figuring out they've signed up for something shady. Tom threatens to use my military service as justification for a federal seizure, calls his contacts, and grins at me. Congratulations, Mr. Wright. You're a national security concern. Thing is, you can't bluff a combat engineer with fake authority. I call Jake. No explanations, just coordinates. That's how military brothers work. Tom laughs, but he doesn't know what's coming. Jake and Tony show up, 12 Harleys in perfect formation, rolling up like thunder. The construction crew starts panicking. Jake addresses Tom's crew. You appear to be conducting unauthorized excavation. Tony flashes his Army Corps badge, and suddenly nobody wants to be there except Tom, who's turning pale. One of Tom's guys starts talking into a radio, in Russian. International angle? This goes deeper than I thought. Jake and Tony start documenting, separating out who's just a worker and who's in on the con. Tom is left standing alone, and his contacts, those federal vehicles, turn out to be just as fraudulent as his paperwork. But then real federal agents show up. FBI Environmental Crimes Division, responding to the evidence Jake and Tony sent ahead. Turns out Collins Environmental Services has been running this scam for decades across multiple states, targeting veterans because they're harder to fool. They arrest Tom and Rachel at our Veterans Memorial Barbecue, in front of the whole community, while Betty films everything for posterity. The barbecue turns into a federal evidence fest. Documents, video, old VHS tapes showing the Collins family's long-running fraud, confessions from 1987, even a map with more properties marked just like mine. My neighbors, who'd turned against me, now apologize, offer support, bring me beers. Kids want to see my Army Corps patches. The community comes together, stronger for having gone through the fire. 6 months later, we're a model for veteran-led environmental protection, and I'm getting packages with cryptic notes, coordinates, a key, mention of the other 11 veterans targeted by the Collins scam. Turns out, my battle was just the beginning. There's a network of folks like me, each sitting on property with a buried secret, and we've only scratched the surface. Funny thing, I came here to retire, to watch hawks and drink coffee. Now I'm leading a community, teaching people how to spot fraud, and working with feds to take down organized crime disguised as environmental protection. The story's not over. Not for me, not for the other 11, and maybe not for you either. So, here's my question for you. Where do you draw the line between authority and abuse, between protection and control? Have you ever been targeted by a system meant to serve you? Drop your story in the comments. Let's talk justice. Let's talk community. Let's talk what happens when people stand together and say not today. And if you stuck with me through all this, smash that like, subscribe, and share this with anyone who's ever had to fight for what's right. Because in the end, that's how we win.